Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling a challenge that I think hits every single one of us. How do you actually learn from what you read in a world that just keeps throwing more and more information at you?
So, have you ever felt like you're just completely buried by your reading list, staring at a mountain of books and articles, and just not knowing where to even start? If that's you, trust me, you are definitely not alone. It's a universal feeling.
But here's the thing. What if the answer isn't about reading faster or cramming more hours into the day? What if it's about fundamentally changing your whole approach? We're going to explore how you can actually read less, but learn way, way more.
All right, so let's just dive right into the problem, shall we? We're all expected to handle this massive amount of complex reading, especially in school or at work, and a lot of the time, it really does feel like we're drowning.
Yeah. Does this scene look a little too familiar? The crumpled paper, notes everywhere, a million tabs open. It's like this is the new normal, right? This organized chaos is the battlefield for modern learning, and it's no wonder we feel so overwhelmed.
And you know what the most frustrating part is? Have you ever spent like a whole hour reading a chapter? You close the book and then you think, wait, what did I just read? It's like, poof, it's just gone. Well, that happens because our brain just slips into this passive mode where we're just seeing the words, not actually engaging with them.
Okay, so before we get into the how, we really need to understand the powerful why. Because reading, it's not just some chore you check off a to-do list. It's like a workout for your brain, a really transformative one.
And I'm not kidding. I mean that literally. This isn't some cheesy motivational quote. It is a straight-up scientific fact. When you really, truly engage with a text, you are physically rewiring the very structure of your brain.
Okay, check this out, because this is absolutely fascinating. A study from Emory University gives us a peek inside our brains when we read. They had people read a novel over 9 days, and they scanned their brains. And look at this. Those bright spots, that's a measurable increase in brain connectivity. The brain was literally building stronger connections, and get this, those effects lasted for days after they even finished the book. How cool is that?
So yeah, the research on this is crystal clear. As education researchers Tunningham and Stanovich found, the more you do this kind of deep reading, the better you get at, well, pretty much everything. We're talking vocabulary, general knowledge, even spelling. It just makes your whole mind sharper.
All right, so the big question is, how do we unlock all these amazing benefits? How do we go from just staring at a page to actually learning from it? Well, that's where our active reading playbook comes in. Let's get to it.
Okay, first things first. We have to completely change our mindset. See, effective reading is not a race to the finish line. It's something called recursive reading. Think of it more like a spiral, not a straight line. You're circling back, questioning, and digging deeper each time.
Yeah, it's this really dynamic cycle, right? You're constantly pulling in what you already know, coming up with new questions, picking up new words, and evaluating what the author is even saying. I love this idea. It's like a full contact sport for your brain.
Now, if you want a really solid framework for this, you can't beat the SQ3R method. It's a classic for a reason. It breaks it all down into 5 steps. First, you survey. Just get the lay of the land. Then you question. Turn headings into questions. Now when you read, you're actively hunting for answers. After that, you recite. Say it out loud in your own words. And finally, you review to make it all stick.
And what I love about this visual is how it shows that SQ3R isn't some boring checklist you just do once and forget. It's a loop. It's a continuous cycle where every step flows right into the next, reinforcing what you're learning.
All right, so you've done the act of reading. That's huge. But that's only half the battle, right? If you want that information to actually stick around, you need a system, a way to capture and process it. And that, my friends, is where good note-taking comes in.
And this is why it's so important. There's this thing called the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, and it's kind of scary. It shows that without actively reviewing what you learn, you can forget up to 75% of it in just 2 days. All that hard work just evaporates. That's why a note-taking system is non-negotiable.
Now look, there's no magic one-size-fits-all method here. The best system is going to be the one you actually use, consistently. Maybe you like the super-structured Cornell method, or maybe you're more of a free-flowing concept map person. The point is to find what really clicks for your brain.
And this is a great way to see the difference. On the left, you've got a classic linear outline, perfect for something with a really clear structure. But for something messy and complex, like figuring out all the relationships in a novel, that concept map on the right is way more powerful. You can really see how all the ideas connect.
The Cornell method. I mean, this one's a fan favorite for a reason. It's brilliant because the structure itself forces you to be an active learner. It has this whole column just for questions, and you have to write a summary at the bottom. So you're not just copying things down. You're actually forced to process and understand it.
Okay, so we've got all these really powerful, time-tested human techniques. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, AI. Where does all of this fit in a world with rapidly advancing AI? What's the future of this fundamental skill?
Well, AI is a total double-edged sword here, for sure. On one hand, it can be an amazing assistant, right? It can summarize a long article or even generate questions to help you read better. But the huge risk is that we start relying on it too much. It becomes a crutch, and we end up bypassing the hard mental work where the real learning happens.
And just as a quick kind of funny reminder of those risks, check this out. This is from a recently published scientific paper where someone clearly just copied and pasted an AI's response, including the part where the AI says it can't help. It's hilarious, but it's also a pretty good warning to always read critically, no matter who or what the author is.
So at the end of the day, here's the main takeaway. It honestly doesn't matter if your tool is a yellow highlighter or the latest AI assistant. The goal is always the same. Learning is not passive consumption. It only happens when you actively and intentionally engage with the material.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. As we head into a future where AI can provide us with pretty much any answer we want, maybe the most valuable human skill of all won't be having the answers, but knowing how to ask the right questions.